You are watching Beyond Design, a video podcast that inspires and encourages architects, engineers, and aspiring construction industry professionals to develop their skills and pursue professional careers beyond design. I am Brian Ernest Regalado, an architect by profession practicing as a construction cost management specialist. Join me as I sit down with experts in the construction industry to talk about their professional practice, principles, processes, the lessons they have learned, and how they make an impact. Good evening. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of Beyond Design, Women in the AEC Industry. Tonight is our seventh episode, and we have with us tonight Hargeet Kaur. So Hargeet is a young, talented project manager who is enthusiastic and passionate about the digital transformation in the AEC industry. So she advocates about wastes and non-value activities in the construction processes and how using the combined approach of lean principles and BIM functionalities could benefit the construction processes. At a very young age, she has obtained her Master of Science degree in Construction and Real Estate Management, or CONREM. She's currently a member of the steering committee of the International Construction Project Management Association as the YICPMA representative. So she comes from India and is currently working in the German construction industry as a project manager. So we're very privileged tonight to have with us Hargeet. Good evening, Hargeet. How are you?
Hello, Hello, Brian. I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good. It's been a rainy day here, but nevertheless, it's a very good day. So Hargeet, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We know that you are just like the rest of the the guests that we have. It's the middle of the day for you. It's 2 p.m. there, so you're in the middle of work, and we know that you're very busy as a project manager. So thank you that you made it tonight. I know you just came off from another meeting. And we're very, very privileged to have you with us. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Brian, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience with the rest of all of you. And yes, it's a busy day, but I think my colleagues are also excited about this show because I have been lately talking a lot about digitization transformation. But as you know, it's too much to take in at one time. So they're happy for me that I get a platform to speak about it. So it's going good.
Yeah. And I'm sure, Hargeet, that digital transformation has been long overdue. And because of this global pandemic, this is one way of moving in the new normal to really transform this construction industry through digital transformation. It's one of the strategies, and to have you talk on the show about that is really a great opportunity for us. So we have 90 minutes of we will have 90 minutes about this topic. And for those of you who are watching tonight, please feel free to if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in the comment section below, and we will at best answer them during the show. So okay, so before we proceed with the main discussion, Hargeet, we'd really love for you to tell us more about your background.
Okay, Brian. So, as you've already mentioned, I come from India. Well, I come from a very northern state of India that's called Jammu and Kashmir. And I have spent most of my life in my home city and also done most of my schooling from my home city. So, I would say that I was not only raised by wonderful and encouraging parents, but also because I did my schooling from a convent girls' school. So, I was raised by very spectacular sisters, convent sisters, and they have shaped me the way I carry today myself. And this is one of the reasons that I think I have a strong personality, and I can keep my opinions on the table without being intimidated. So this is why, because I was raised this way, and I'm very much thankful for that.
Okay, so and um and prior to prior to your career as a construction project manager, can you tell us more of how you got into this role or into this career? What got you started into in this career?
Okay. So, as a matter of fact, I was always interested in construction, buildings, bridges, because my father is also an engineer. And from very childhood, he used to talk about how do we make this and look at that spectacular building. I don't know, it just stuck with me. And I was always, this was what I always wanted to do. So when it was the time to choose my career, I told my father that I want to choose this. Well, he was not very happy with that because he said it's quite man's world you want to enter. But still, I persuaded him and I'm here today. So I joined civil engineering. I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from India, and that was for 4 years. So there I met a lot of wonderful professors, a lot of passionate students, and I was quite young to understand how this construction really works, because in the traditional construction, it was all about the architect and a contractor. But in the modern construction, it's much more than that. So when you see a spectacular building, it's not only the work of an architect or the engineer. There are so many planners involved. There is so much planning involved at the back end that we really do not talk about. So there was more of an awareness that came to me that what is actually the AEC industry about. It's not only about
Mhm.
putting the Lego pieces together. It's more than that. And yeah, that's what inspired me to be here.
So that what inspired you, but you initially obtained a degree in civil engineering. And we know for a fact that both architecture and civil engineering, by default, is preparing us for careers in design. But you went beyond design. So was that something that was brought about by opportunities, or was it a consequence of what came your way, or was it a deliberate decision at some point in your during your undergraduate studies?
Yes, I would say I was always interested in cost calculations and schedule planning during my bachelor's. I think we had modules about that in our third year of education. And one of my professor, he actually introduced CPM to me. And he said that we have this module, you should definitely take it. I took it, I liked it. And then he recommended me that go for an internship uh, in a project management firm as a trainee, and then let me know how you feel about it. I was quite I was in a dilemma because this was something new. All I thought my life was that I would be going to a contractor office and working from there. I didn't have a clue what's happening. But
Mm-hmm.
after I did my internship, or during my internship, I came across a lot of things that really inspired me. So I met a lot of professionals, encouraging professionals, and a wonderful team. We were making actually a multi-story building in Noida. That's a part of New Delhi in India. And so the project was a bit complex, and it was a team effort. We had multi diverse teams because India is quite diverse. So all the people from different states, they do not even speak the same language. They have different cultures, they speak different languages. But that was one place where I met like the teams from different areas, from different expertise. And to be honest, in those combined meetings, those discussions, those endless discussions, I understood one thing, that there is a secret ingredient for project management. And that's if you know how to handle people and take the endless discussion to a conclusion, then I think that's the best place to be. And Brian, if I tell you right now, it's not a 9 to 5 job for me. I am so passionate about this that I cannot think of anything else that I would be doing right now. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to know because some would take their career as something that, as you would say, nine
Mhm.
to five job. But I think I understand your uh, I understand where you stand in on about your career, because I also came to a point where I love cost management. I breathe it, I think it, I eat it, I sleep with it. I so it's just my passion too, and to me it's not really a burden to go beyond the 9 to 5, because, and in fact now I'm also teaching that, because that is really a need that is a real need in the industry, knowing how to control projects by controlling time and cost, and it's so good that for a young construction project manager like you are really dedicated in this. So um you finished a master's degree I believe that's a dual master's degree,
Yes.
construction and real estate management. Can you tell us how that helped you establish a career, or a more definitive career, in construction project management?
Yes, of course. I will go a little bit back to explain why I chose this master degrees. So after my studies, my bachelor studies, I started working. I ended up working with the contractor firm. So I was working from the contractor side. So
Mhm.
there I actually saw a different side, because there's one side when you work for a project management, you work from the client side, and then there's the other side when you work from the contractor side. So I saw a different kind of work environment, and it made me sure that this is not something I want to do, because I want to be very clear and transparent with what's happening, and want to have the same motivation as the client has. So then I decided that I should really do my master's and try to get more focused into project management. And that's how I came to Germany and started my studies here. So, as you said, Brian, this is a double degree course. And I don't know, at that moment, I was more younger. I didn't realize how big of an opportunity it is. But today I realize, because it's an international program, and we have 1 year dedicated in Finland, Helsinki, with Finnish language as the main language, and 1 year in Berlin, in Germany. So this course was, this course is an international course. That's why we were 30 people with different nationalities, different languages, different backgrounds, different experiences, and that also helped me to understand how to work in a team. When you are not, when all the people are not from your country, you don't have the same culture, you don't have the same methodologies, and you have different approaches to some things. So that was one thing. And apart from that, I would say that this course is divided mostly into project management techniques, and some of them to real estate development. But what was the best part of the course is that nothing was theoretical. So mostly in MS programs or in master degrees, you learn a lot about theory and not anything practical. And that doesn't really help you when you go out in the world. So we have done a number of projects together as teams, and those were like kind of rehearsal for us. So that when we are going to the outer world and going to do the projects, we have a framework in our mind how to go forward with it, and not just reading some rules and principles that we will follow later on. So that's why I would say I was quite lucky that I was a part of this course, and it has really helped me. I can swear with that.
Oh, okay. Hargit, before we proceed with other questions, I'd like to let's read some comments first. And the first one is from Christina. Good afternoon from London, Hargit and Brian. Hi, Christina. Thank you for tuning
So,
in. And another one from Nick Smith. And hi from Spain. Hi, Nick.
hello.
And Nick has a question, and he wants to ask this. Hargeet, how does your father think about your career now that you are fully qualified and employed in a challenging job?
Well, Nick, thank you for asking that. Well, my father is quite proud of me today. He cannot stop talking about it. So every time he asks me, "What's going on? What are you doing? What kind of projects are you doing?" And when I tell him about this digitization transformation, he gets confused. But he still says, like, "Thank God I'm retired now and I don't have to deal with this." So that's what he says.
I'm sure, Hargeet, you shared, and if I recall it right, you said that your father thought to himself, what is his baby girl going to do
Yeah.
in a man's world, right? And for a woman to excel in a male dominated uh, industry is really something to be proud of. So, okay, let's proceed with other questions. Okay, okay, for the rest of the viewers who are watching now, please feel free to type in your questions at the comment section, especially as we get into the main discussion. So, Hargit, your CV tells me that you are a tech savvy. What influenced you to be a tech savvy?
Well, if I'm being honest, when I started studying my bachelor's, I was quite afraid of the softwares personally. And I always thought of one or the other reason to skip them and try to find a short way to get over with that. But then I read a quotation, I think it was by Isaac Newton, that what you know is a drop and what you don't know is an ocean. I don't know why, Brian, but that changed me. That changed the way I look at things now or then. And then I just jumped into whatever came my way. Most of the softwares that I have learned, and I can't say I'm expert because I'm still a student in softwares, but I would say most of them I learned were a part of my study program, part of the packages, or some of them were I learned through my professional career. But now I can say like I am quite ahead because I think differently. I have a different perspective than I had before.
Yeah, that's good to hear from you that you have a broader perspective when it comes to software. Most young professionals, they get into the industry with a software as a skill. I mean,
Hmm.
a software based skill, but you came in with a broader perspective of managing an enterprise, and so what? So this allows for you to harness whatever technology is available to improve your delivery of projects. So in many cases, digital technology in the AEC industry is still an area of practice that is still male dominated. How did you end up in this discipline? And can you share with us your experience?
Well, I'm quite aware of that fact, but I choose not to look at that way. So I truly believe that in professional world there is only one thing that matters, and that's who gets the job done. So then it really doesn't matter what gender you have, what color you have, what area do you come from, what language do you speak. So it's professionalism. And I think it's very important if we keep it that way. Otherwise, the question my father asked me 10 years ago, maybe I will ask my daughter 10 years after, or somebody else will. So I think it's quite important that we understand that in professionalism, there's no gender. Yeah, but of course, there are challenges because, Brian, in construction, when you go on a site, we are not even 10% of the people present on a site sometimes. So it's sometimes intimidating. It's intimidating because we don't have many women in construction or other genders. So there is a lack of people, there's lack of awareness. And I think maybe through me, maybe some people can get motivated or some little girls who want to make their career into construction. So I would just want to say there's nothing to be afraid of. If you can dream it, you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's really true. We've yeah, it's really all about who gets the job done. And I like that you pointed that out because that is an encouragement to those who are really serious in pursuing this career regardless of the seeming setback. So it's very interesting that I'm very excited that you will talk about more about digital technology and transformation, because it has been a buzzword, and that is oftentimes misused and abused as a slogan or a catchphrase. I mean, especially the term digital. People think that for as long as you are using some form of tech, it's already a way of transforming something by means of digital technology. So, can you share with us, or can you educate our audience what digital technology and transformation is really all about, and the common myths that cloud people's understanding of it?
Yes. So, how I understand digitalization. So, I think digital transformation has become some kind of a myth, as you already said. People are really afraid of it. And but I really want to talk about today that why are people really afraid of it? Because people really don't understand why digital transformation is necessary. So nowadays, if you go on internet, you go online, you hear what people are talking about. So they're talking about how we can make this digital transformation. But very less people are talking about why do we actually need it? Why is there a way that reason that we need a digital transformation? Well, as I understand, from my studies, from my research, from my work, day-to-day activities, that construction process is very complex in its nature. And there are so many different factors that really affect the construction process. Be it they be external factors or they could be internal factors as a form of a design change or something. So it's utmost crucial that we really simulate the process in such a way that we can prevent some of the risks in the further stages of the construction. And I believe that is one of the reasons that we definitely need digital transformation. And if we talk about the current industry, there is a big buzzword, BIM, which translates into building information modeling. But as you also said, Brian, that you believe it's more of building information management, which I believe it is. And so I think this is one of the biggest myths, or we have different myths regarding BIM that I would like to clear out today. So I suppose you have made some slides, if you could share that, because
Let me pull. Okay, so
yeah, so I read my, no, before this, do you also have the myths?
oh, that
It's okay,
one.
I have them, no worries. So that I don't forget, I have them. Okay, so the very first biggest myth in this industry is that BIM is a software or a tool. So the people who are listening, I would like to hear your views. What do you think? BIM is a software or a tool? If somebody is very fast, can somebody really write? What do they think? What are their opinions about BIM? Before I really clarify this myth. Do you have any answers, Brian? Or should I?
None yet.
Not yet.
So
Okay, they will come on the way. So I
yeah.
will go forward. Okay. So well, BIM is neither a software nor a tool. BIM is actually a platform where we build a BIM model. Now,
Mhm.
what does it mean? The second myth is also related to the first myth that BIM is a software, that all 3D models are BIM models. Well, I would like to clarify this for today because I have been into huge discussion with professionals sometimes that we have made a 3D model. What do you want more from us? Well, every 3D model is not a BIM model. A BIM model specifies something that has all the important information that can be transferred to the another planner during the course of the process. That's what we say that it's a BIM model. If the model does not contain all the required information with it, then it's just a 3D model. It's just a 3D representation of your drawing and nothing else. So this is the second very, very common myth. Now the third myth is my favorite. And it's like BIM is only for architects or the
Mhm.
structure and technical engineers, and rest of the project planners and project management has nothing to do with it. Well, there are different perspectives in the industry, so I cannot say that they're wrong, but it's a myth according to me, because BIM has several functionalities that not only help the architects to build a vision of what they are creating and the structural engineers to do all the technicalities and the simulation, but it also helps the whole project team to have a transparent view of what's happening. First of all, it really helps to transparent information sharing between one and the other planets. And that's not only important for our architect or a technical planner, that is something that every project manager tries to do from the
Mhm.
very first day of the planning meeting. This is what we say in our planning meeting, that we want to build a transparent system so that information is shared on time, we do not have hurdles, and updated information is passed on to each other so that we have right quantities and right costs. So in my opinion, I think BIM is more than just for architect and technical engineers. We all really need it. It's just that there's not much awareness of the right kind of BIM that we need to do. And then there is the fourth myth. And well, it's I have been into discussions with many people about this. So it's also, I can say it's a myth or it's a misunderstanding that people say, or most professionals believe, that BIM implementation costs are quite high, but we do not get any returns out of them. So, well, first of all, I would like to talk about that what kind of costs are we talking about here? Now, for example, if you have a X million budget for a project, and that includes your architect fees, your procurement, all the other details, those are fixed. There is no way that we can change them. What can we change? We can change the buffer that we are creating, 20%, 30%, that goes on escalating. There's no end to that. That is what we can reduce with BIM. And these are the costs we are talking about, the supplementary costs that we can reduce by using BIM so that we don't have cost escalations. So when we tell our client that we have a 50 million budget project, then it's a 50 million budget project, and it doesn't go up to 80 million budget at the end, and nobody knows why did it happen. So these are the costs when we are talking about when we talk about BIM. So I think that was with my myths. Do we have any questions?
Well, let me read through them. Okay. Oh, somebody answered late. It's Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. Thank you for watching us. He says it's a tool. And then Christina would like to share her thoughts. I fully agree with your statement that professionalism is key and that best person for the task is the one who can get the job done rather than the background, gender, or skin color, etc. So there's
Thank you,
not
Christina.
much questions yet. But I like how when he said, um, well, it's really a reality that people think it's just for the designers, but I think what most people don't know about BIM is that it's more than 3D. It goes beyond 3D, right? You have 4D, which includes schedule, 5D, which includes cost, and 7 is facilities, right?
Yep.
And you have all the way, I think, up to 9D already by this time. So it's a full range of information attached to the building, and it cannot really be limited to just modeling, because modeling is just, as you said, the platform by which we manage all these concerns and constraints, especially constraints, right? So before we go to the next question, there's a question here from Christina. What do you think of 3D coordination between project members versus full BIM process? Some say BIM creates admin work such as clash coordination, workshops due to alerts, which are sometimes felt as if they are adding work, whereas 3D model coordination and model sharing might bring the benefits without the burden of admin.
I would say it's a wonderful question, Christina. Thank you. I wanted to elaborate on this part. So, as you know, Brian, we have different kinds of BIM available, or the different kind of framework of BIM that we can use in a current project. So, one, we call it a little BIM, and one is the big BIM. Now, what is a little BIM? So, little BIM is, as most of you know, that when we want to share our models with each other with a single interface system so that we can use our models, but it's not overburdened with a lot of information. Because definitely, if you want to share your model on a cloud, you need somebody who's tracking the changes and updating the model. I can't say it's on a real time, but on a daily basis. You have to update the model, get an information. So it's very interesting. When I was doing my research, I did some interviews, and I interviewed one person from India, and he was the project manager. I forgot the name of the company, but the project was going on in a desert in west of India. And I asked him that, are you using Little BIM or Big BIM? And he said, we were definitely using Big BIM, the cloud BIM, but now we are using Little BIM. And I said, why? He said, it's funny to say, but we have really internet problems here because it's offsite. So these are the small things that don't really occur to our mind. That if you want to burden your uh, model with all the information that it carries, then you need a proper infrastructure for that. And if you do not have proper infrastructure for that, or a team to really coordinate it, then as Christina said, that you will get alerts to fix it, and sometimes it's extra burden for that. So I believe that every project is different, every country is different, every company is different, every team is different. So it should be a personal choice and not a burden. That which BIM do I want to use? That's how I would answer it.
Okay. So, okay, thank you, Christina, for that wonderful question. And moving forward, Hargeet,
Mm-hmm.
one of the hurdles that most companies have is the cost of BIM. So, can you enlighten us about the cost of implementing it? And another thing is, if it's uh, uh, how does the for the additional cost that B may place on the project, does it actually deliver the results of saving costs?
Okay. So to answer this question honestly, I would say that all the research I have done based on the case studies that have used completely BIM for their projects were based on multi-dollar projects. So now that's the problem in our industry. We do not have a simple example that I can say that we can use as a benchmark. So when we talk to people who are delivering middle scale projects, they are not really interested to get into the cost implementation cost of BIM because they have an imagination, or they have certain perspective that this BIM is for multi-dollar projects, and if we do implement BIM, it's just going to increase our cost. There is one point that I want to really bring it, that our industry is facing tremendous problems because we don't have skilled BIM workers or professionals, and that's something to be really be aware of. All the people who are listening to me, if you really are want to go into this technical kind of environment, you should definitely think about this, because BIM coordination is the future. Even if we deny it today, after 5 or 10 years is definitely going to come. We are going there. So definitely the costs that we think are too much for now, maybe in some years we will think that no, they are really useful for us. Because I think with BIM, there's one rule that really applies, and that's the carpenter's rule: measure twice, cut once. So whenever I think about BIM, that's something that comes in my mind, that if I'm really sure about what I'm going to deliver in my execution phase, if I'm really sure about my design planning at the moment, then I think that's something that will that will help me to make better decisions for my execution. So as you said, Brian, so the cost is high, that I'm aware of, but I really don't have any benchmark to give you and say that how much is the cost and how much is the return. And also we have in our industries really some bad examples, because it's not, BIM is not, I don't want to use slang language, but BIM is not like a magic tool that I placed in my project and everything will be nice. You
Yeah.
need to know how to use it and how
Yeah.
to manage it properly. So before, some years ago, there was no project management. Everything was done by architect or a simple engineer. But now we have project management. Why? Because you need somebody to manage the whole process. And that's why we have BIM today, but we need somebody who can manage the whole process so that we get the returns that we are looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. And um one of the things that I think most people don't realize is that, as you said, the costs for professional fees are actually fixed, and that's where BIM can actually be under. And you
Mm-hmm.
have, and that well, regardless of how you structure your cost, whether it's under preliminaries, under general requirements, or definitely that's a smaller part than what you are actually managing, the direct cost of every element in the building, right? And it's like a Pareto rule, no? Wherein you can manage the 20% that impacts the 80% of the project, right? So, and it could be, and if managed right, that can really deliver on both on both ends, right? Managing the costs of the designers and the professionals, and at the same time of the building itself. So, let's now I want let's get on and to the main topic, the application of lean principles and BIM practices for streamlining project delivery. So this is surely one concrete strategy towards digital transformation, and in fact I think this is the solution to what to the issue that has been plaguing the construction industry. And for our audience, to our audience, what most people don't know is that the construction industry globally is lagging behind all other industries in terms of productivity and efficiency, and that is highlighted by this pandemic. And so it becomes very necessary to get into this concrete strategy of transforming the construction industry through digital transformation. So can you okay, I'll show the slides. Okay, can you walk us through the best practices to collaborate BIM and lean?
Yes. So, Brian, before I go forward, I want to give our viewers and audience quite a quick overview of what I'm going to talk about. So, as you know, that BIM is a platform that can really help us become efficient in whatever we do in most of the construction processes and make it more, I would say, linear. And when I say linear, I say that it really helps us to reduce our rework that we have to do 10 times or more than 10 times, and repeatedly changing our costs and changing the whole situation of the project and making it so much chaotic. So that's why in my research, after my research, I found out some practices that can be used in a projects, and that has a collaborative approach of BIM and lean both. And I think this framework that I have created, it can be applied to most of the projects because it's not that cost effective. It's just the way we should lead our projects. So we can go forward now. So I think the first very important aspect of a construction process is that we set a project goal or a project vision. Now, most of the time, what happens is that we do not really have a project goal or a project vision for the whole complete project. And that's why somehow in the process we get lost. And the things that are really not important for the client, not important for the project, we keep on endlessly talking about those things and trying to resolve those issues while we should really be talking about some other things. So this is the first point where we say that we have a definite goal for our project, or we have unlimited a number of goals. And this is the part where we say that we want to involve all of our stakeholders so that they participate in the beginning and make some decisions, and that will become a benchmark for us to go through our process. And if I want to relate it with lean and BIM, so lean says make everything that delivers a value to the client. Now, most of the people would have a question in their mind, what do you mean value? Well, value could be anything. Value could be time, value could be cost, value could be quality. And nowadays, value could also mean sustainability goals or environmental goals. It could mean anything. But this is something you have to fix in the very first beginning of the project. And then we go to the second. So it's a target value-based design. So this is a term that we really use in lean construction principles. Those of you are not aware of this term, so target value design means that rather than making a design and then changing it numerous times and then defining the cost, it's better you define a budget first and then design accordingly. Now, why is it helpful? Because I think most of you will agree with me. We always have in our project process one phase when we really want to optimize the costs. That's very famous in construction project management. But what really happens in this cost optimization? So, for example, if for my client, one of the goal was that he wants to develop a sustainable building or an economic or ecological building, and he wants us to go for a wooden facade rather than a steel or a steel structure. He wants us to go for a wooden. Now it costs much for a project. And if we really did not think about the cost at the beginning, what will happen in this cost optimization phase? We will actually get rid of the whole wooden facade and go with the steel structure. So, what happened here? We did not optimize anything. We actually compromised the project. And we think that because we're in the budget, so it's optimization. But if you look at it in a different perspective or from a leaner perspective, it's actually compromising the project and not optimizing it. That's why it's a good strategy to use the target value based design, look for a budget, and then go forward with it. Then we'll go to the third. Thank you. So use an alliance contracting. I think that's the favorite one for Brian, and he could talk more about that rather than me. But okay, I will just give you an overview. So as I said, so now when you just imagine that, just walk with me through this project. Now we have set our goals. We have set our complete budget. We have a direction where to go. Now what happens in the middle? What happens is now we have different project planners, different project participants, and each one of them has different motivation to do the project. So because we do not have one motivation for the whole project, so everybody will try to go in different ways. It's difficult to maintain that transparency throughout the project. And most of the time, what happens is when we have risks, we try to transfer them to one and another. But the best part about alliancing contracting or relational contracting is that rather than shifting the risk on each other and trying to go up with disputes and claims, what you want to do is you want to mitigate them or share them. So that's why I think this is also one of the very important aspects of lean that we should use when we go forward with the project. Do you have any comments, Brian? I think you
Well,
have.
actually, this is the I think this is the way moving forward, especially when there are a lot of risks that are brought about by things like this, the pandemic, right? You can just imagine how much impact this pandemic has on contracts, because people would like to they're not sharing risks, and therefore they're not sharing also the profits, right, or the
Yeah,
losses.
true.
And just imagine if you have an alliance contracting. This basically says, okay, just have one goal. It's having a pro project, a really pro project mindset, having one goal, one set of risks to manage and to mitigate, and one pie to share, right? I mean, for the
Yeah.
profit. And if there's and if there's anything that will go wrong, we share the losses. So I think it's a win-win solution for everyone. And I would like to also say that this is actually one of our annual awards categories, right? The
Yes.
Alliancing Award. And and recently we just awarded our the winners for 2020, and we'd like to invite our audience to follow ICPMA on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and icpma.net, because we will be announcing soon, coming this October, the opening of the call for entries for the Alliance Awards, right?
Yes.
So, and okay, so yeah, this is really good, and I think the only way that we can share risks is when we have a shared platform that we can all see, can all look at the same time, and what we see from one angle is the same in all angles, right? So yeah, there. So thank you for bringing this up. So let's go on, Hargi.
So next is focus on a feasibility study by using BIM rooms. Now, most of you are aware the fact that feasibility studies are usually done by project development firms for a new real estate property to know about what are the marketing factors, what is the market price, what are the sales price, what are the geographical conditions of the building or the area. But I would say that feasibility study should go much beyond that, because what happens sometimes that there are different kind of projects nowadays. So it's not only about block structures that I have block structures with 10 stories and that's all. So we nowadays we have parametric architecture and computational structures. So it makes it sometimes really difficult to process the whole simulation of the project and to understand that how are we going to build it. So it's one thing that my architect is very spectacular and he created a spectacular design, but it's another thing to make that building functional. So it's not only the job of a structural engineer or the MEP, it's the job of the whole team to understand for themselves how are we going to make it. So that's why it's one of my suggestions that for those kind of projects when we are not sure about that how is it going to affect the cost or the timeline of the project, what are the risks it could bring, we should definitely focus on a feasibility study, make it very short, 2-3 months as a first or second phase of construction, and see for ourselves a small prototype that we create. And this can be really created by BIM rooms. Well, given the circumstances, we cannot really have physical BIM rooms at the moment, but we could definitely have integrated models so that we can make this feasibility study faster and see for ourselves what it has to bring in the later stages. So that's another one. And I've already mentioned about integrated approach, about using collaborative models. So one thing Christina also asked me about Little BIM and Big BIM. So I really believe that every project is unique, and what might work for one project might actually not work for the other one. So you have to be really not creative, but careful about what kind of strategy you want to choose for your project. But nevertheless, I would say that when you have a collaborative model, as Brian also said, what looks from one angle looks from all the angles. So you don't have really surprises when you want to go and build it, because you are fully prepared in your design phase that what's going to come in the later stages. And that's when you can actually control all of your costs, because it's very painful to change anything in the execution phase. And this change, one rectification, is going to cost a lot of money, loss of time, and a lot of claims if you don't have alliancing. So
Yeah.
it's a good idea to plan everything in the design phase and then go forward. So next. Yes. So for the BIM rooms, I already said, and about the clash detections. Now, I think, Brian, you also know that mostly companies are going for combined model clash detections, and they're not using 4D modeling or 5D modeling. Well, they have their own reasons for that. But I would still say and really encourage teams to at least go for the clash detections. Why? Because it's not only important for our engineers or technical people, it also is very important for the project management. Because if you have a combined model in your design phase and you checked it completely, you are not going to have any surprise when you're going to make it. Because sometimes it happens that we have HVAC and MEP conducts really clashing towards each other. And they are at such moment that if we want to change one thing, we have to change the whole complete set. And to change the whole complete set means I need to reorder my materials. I need to rearrange my teams. I need to rearrange my subcontractors. So it's hell lot of chaos that could occur on the construction side. And that's why I say that BIM is not only for engineers and architects, it's actually for the project managers to see everything transparent, what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my favorite, 4D BIM and time planning for the project. Well, I think in traditional, well, I am also as a practitioner, I won't lie, we're also using traditional form of scheduling due to several reasons. But still, as a student of technology, I would say that 4D BIM is definitely far more better than using a traditional way. Because what happens in a traditional way, using MS Project or you can use Primavera, you really don't get a full picture of the activities, how are they linked. So you only can make a master plan and see for yourself which activities are dependent on each other. But you really cannot see what kind of clashes are going to be there in the real construction.
Mhm.
And one of the another factor about 4D BIM is that most of the people don't know that you can use the same model and connect your schedule to see for yourself that how can you manage your your construction logistics on your site. And this is something that can save you a lot of money, especially if you're building something in the middle of a city. So something to look about. And then lean tools for the construction site management. I think I will not try to elaborate it much because it's going to take a lot of time. But I would say like there are two tools which are really popular in lean construction industry. One is the last planner system and another is the tact planning. So I would really suggest that at least to use these two tools in your construction and execution phase. So if we have time, maybe I can elaborate a bit, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead, please,
Go ahead.
please.
Okay. So what's the difference between the last planner system and a normal schedule is that the normal schedule is made by project managers, uh, sometimes young project managers like me, but this is actually based upon a lot of experience and a lot of assumptions. We assume that this activity should be like this and should take this much time. So it's more of an assumption based on the experience and less on the facts. So what the last planner system does it actually is a combination of the project managers and the supervisors that are working on the site. So it's a combined platform where they sit together and actually see for themselves how this activity plan should go forward. And that's why this is one of the best lean practices, I would say, and very common one to save a lot of time and accelerating costs.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh, yeah, you have a
yeah,
question?
I'd like to that's very good. I whenever I teach scheduling, time
Mhm.
management, not the use of not the use of the software, but time management per se. I always tell them that one of the pitfalls of scheduling is that people think that people are working in a lab, right? Where the assumptions and the constraints are fully controlled. And what we also, I'm not aware of these tools, but what I also always tell them is to get your construction managers, your crew heads, or your team leads to sit down and really do work on the schedules together, because there are many things in on site that can just affect how work is performed. Like, it's often looked over, like the
The look aheads.
yeah, the site condition, the site organization, and actually weather. Now there are studies that under certain temperatures, uh, within specific range of temperatures, I think the one I read was from Australia, is that they really see a 20% drop in productivity. And if all you know is just and they think they have made this a study based on feedback from the field. So it's really best to merge this, to really get rid of the wasted time and to increase productivity. So
I agree.
does this work? What is this? Does this work in conjunction with any BIM tools, or is it a standalone tool?
I think it's till now it was a standalone tool, but
Mm.
now it's being used with 4D planning together.
Oh,
Because
okay.
in 4D plan, because one of the biggest job of the construction managers is to check what was planned and what is the actual status of the project. So you can actually see in a 4D model that
Mhm.
what was planned for this month, what was the productivity, how much it should be built, and what did you bake till now. And based on both of them, you can make your last planner chart and
Yeah,
tell the people that you need to work faster or you can slow down a bit.
yeah,
So that's the whole concept behind it.
yeah. So that really makes project control more visible, or
More visible.
yeah, and that's basically what you said. Is basically earned value analysis. and
Yes.
then for the planning BIM tools really help. Okay.
Yeah. So this is another term called as just-in-time delivery. I hope most people have heard about that. If not, then I will say one of the another philosophy of lean is, because we all know that lean was first introduced for the production engineering or the production processes and not for construction. So lean says just in time. That means deliver the materials on site when they are needed, because extra delivery of anything creates chaos and a lot of burden on the site. And I would say I don't take the full methodology only for materials delivering on site. I would also say that it also happens in our design processes sometimes. But sometimes we don't need to do something, but we have to do because we feel like there is a pressure from the client, or we want to impress 4 or 5 stakeholders. But it shouldn't be like that. One activity should only start when the previous one is finished. Otherwise, it doesn't bring anything for us. It's just extra time, extra burden, extra work for everybody. So, one example, if I could give you from a construction site, it would be that I don't have the plastered wall yet, but I have planned my painter to paint it. Now, what is going to happen in this kind of situation? My painter cannot paint the wall, and my plaster person is not there because I did not see it coming. So if we say this is a very small activity loophole, but if you really think about a whole construction project, this happens on a daily basis, sometimes 4 or 5 times a day. So just imagine the time delays we are creating just by not focusing on what we should focus on and trying to push all the time. Because if you don't do your activity on time, what will happen at the end? Now everybody's trying to finish the work because we have a deadline coming, and then there is a more cost because now you need more people for the job. Sometimes it's more material and other supplementary costs, and the quality, well, don't ask me about that, the quality goes to drain. So
Yeah.
this is one of the very biggest aspect that we should really think about when we plan a project. And now the last one, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to
Can you hear me, Brian? Hello.
Okay, sorry about that. I got disconnected for a while, but
You're back.
yeah, I'm back. So let's continue.
Okay, so last but not the least is try to create an integrated FM model.
Mhm.
Now I want to give an overview about that why do we really need a FM model? FM translates to or
Facility.
specifies facility management integrated model. So as most of the project management professionals know about that design is a very small part, or the construction execution, this is a very small part for a building. The longest part is actually the maintenance of the building or the operation side of the building. And that's why nowadays our AEC industry is called AECO, because operations is also integrated in the AEC. And nowadays, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a FM based model so that in the later stages, when we really want to do some inspections or do some technical changes, we have a ready made model for that, so that we have well informed information how to go about that. And one of the biggest aspect of using or creating a FM model is that later on when we want to rehabilitate a project or refurbish the same project, so then we have all the information available with us. And not like today that when we want to redo a 50 years old building, we're trying to find the plans of that, and we definitely have no information about the technical facilities. We really don't know what's happening, and that takes too much of cost because now we have to inspect everything. So this is one of the way we can save money during the process of life cycle management. So I think that was all
Yeah.
regarding
I
best
just
practice.
we don't have questions, but I just have a few questions about what you just shared. So first on the value target value
Mm-hmm.
target value based design, is
Mm-hmm.
it similar to doing a performance based specification?
You can say that.
Yeah.
That you can say that, yes. But
Yeah.
the only difference is that in performance based, you want to define
Mhm.
your benchmarks and your factors that how you really want to define the project. And with target value, you say that let's do it the opposite way. So you are
Mhm.
my client, Brian. You tell me how much do you have? How much can I spend? Rather than I make a fancy structure and I give you the cost, and then you really don't know what to do about that. So it's the opposite approach of
Okay.
handling the project.
Yeah, I ask because also have a framework that I use, and it involves pushing for early for project for detailed project definition even before design starts, and there's no design involved here, so that at the end of pre-design what I have is a well defined basis of design, such that I think our goals are the same, such that the designers design to cost rather than cost planners and cost managers costing to design,
Yes,
right?
then it's same.
Yeah.
Yes, the
So
gist is same.
yeah. So yeah, that this is very interesting. I think I'm one of I'm very fascinated with these things because I think this is the I don't use any uh, software, but I have been managing building information, I'd say manually, using the ASTM E1557. It's an elemental approach to building information. That's also known as Uniformat 2. And I think that's actually the language and the structure that most BIM use, an elemental approach to building. So thank you very much for that, Hargeet. I'll just remove my screen, and so we can proceed with the rest of the interview. Okay, so so is it possible, Hargeet, to actually achieve lean and not employ a just in time approach in your supply chain management?
Well, I would say, Brian, lean is actually more of a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way we do things.
Mm-hmm.
So during my research, I came across a lot of professionals that really don't use any kind of lean tool. They don't know what just-in-time delivery means. But what
Mm-hmm.
they're actually doing is just in time. So I call it unintentional lean. So when you really don't know that this theory exists, but you're still doing the same things in your own way. So that's why I say that lean principles, they are too much specific. They should be more general because everybody's doing that. It's just that we don't know about it. It's like that.
The practice is there without the label. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much for those 10 best practices, Hargeet. And okay, so right now you are a- you are a member of the steering committee, and you were formerly a member of YICPMA.
I
Is
think
that
yes. Yes.
correct? So how has it helped you with the transition from being a YICPMA to a young construction project manager to a professional and full-fledged construction project manager?
Okay, so I think you are yourself involved in ICPMA, so you definitely know that what kind of a wonderful team we have there.
Yes,
So I think this ICPMA was introduced to me by one of my professor at my university, and I thought as first, to be honest, I thought it's a platform where I can make some connections. But
Mhm,
when I really got involved in ICPMA, I realized this is a wonderful platform and a very honest organization where everybody is trying to contribute voluntarily. So, as a matter of fact, we don't really do certifications or we don't really have exams or we're trying to interview people to come and join us. What we are looking for is people with passion and people with something to contribute, people who think that there is a better way to do things.
mhm,
And I think that's something that really aligns with my personal goals and my career goals, and that's why I'm very much comfortable here. Sometimes I cannot discuss about some topics back at my office because of the time constraints or because of the different ideologies, but I feel free to talk
mhm.
here with professionals around the globe and talk to them about how are they doing things and what can I learn from them. I think it's a wonderful and fabulous experience, and I'm quite fortunate to be a part of ICPMA.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is actually a question here. I think this came just now. Okay, from
Mhm.
Christina. Although I love the idea about the continuated use of BIM in the FM world, the clients, FM teams I worked with so far were not set up for the sophisticated way of managing the building going forward with BIM or 3D models. Not prepared to pay additional money for it, and therefore have declined the use of BIM despite the obvious benefits. What is your suggestion on how to overcome this and train progress the FM managers or convince the clients in the future?
Well, okay. Now I think I have to recode one more phrase, one of my favorite one. I will recode from Grace Hooper. She says that the most difficult phrase or the most dangerous phrase in English language is that we have always done it this way.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we still have in our construction industry. And that's how you said, Brian, that we are very lacking behind in productivity. If you see the stats, we are still there as we were in 1800s. We have not improved. So the advancement is here, but our we are still at, at the very basic level because we are afraid of this new technology. We don't know how to handle it. And Christina is right. Also, in my research, I found not many cases about FM models, and it's very difficult to convince the client or the convince the people who are at the senior positions so that they agree to get a FM model. But would still say, if I would be at your position, Christina, you're a very strong and wonderful woman. I know that. So I would definitely keep my opinion on the table and say this is going to cost you a lot more than you think now. But to be honest, Christina, in reality, this really doesn't work. I'm still struggling at my work areas. So even though I advocate being and lean, we are still not there. There's still time to get there. So that's why I think like professionals like you and me, very passionate about this technology, will change the future. Because at some point we will be there to make the decisions, and maybe then we can change it. That's
Yeah.
all I can say for now.
Okay. So I like what you the quote that you just used. Because I think that's the point of digital transformation, to break that status quo. And yeah, and that's really that's a sad reality that much have progressed, but compared to our peers in the industry sectors like manufacturing,
Hmm.
are really, yeah, we are still, it's like we're still in the 1800s. And this has to, we have to really push this to I mean, there has to be an end to this status quo. And one of the wonderful things that this, I think, this pandemic brings is that it really necessitates that we break free from the status quo, because I think with the digital transformation, it allows for more offsite work also,
Hmm.
uh, which which is very much prevalent now because we haven't transformed the industry yet, or the industry has not yet been transformed. So, um, okay, so
I think, Brian, I would like to add a bit more here.
okay, go
Given the current circumstances of COVID pandemic, you see that construction industry in some parts of the world is at halt. We really cannot work now. And it's not only that we cannot work on the construction sites, but also the planning and the design teams that are at halt. And why is that? Because we didn't really pay attention to the digital transformation when it was happening. It's really important that we transform ourselves with the technology. So if I give you a very simple example, today is the world of Android, or you use Mac for Apple. And if we still want to use traditional phones today, it's not going to work. And 10 years ago, we didn't have any idea that what is an Android, what's a smartphone, what does it do for us. But today we have changed in the technology. I really don't recall any person, any professional I meet who has still a small device to call, because you can do better than this. And that's what the technology is all about. But I think how Christina is saying about FM, it's also because in manufacturing industry, you want to have an integrated model because the changes will be faster. But in a construction project, when you have a building, it's going to be there for 20 years. And people really don't want to invest in something that we want to change after 20 years. So this is one of the perspective that I can also agree that, yeah, this might be one of the reasons that people don't want to invest in those kind of models. But I think this is beyond that, because in a FM integrated model, you can simulate the whole model of the building. And in case of security issues, for example, fire or any other hazards, you have a direct control of the model. So you can see for yourself where is the problem or how can I rectify it. Or you just have the PDF files, then you'll just keep looking at what's happening. So I think this is some of the topics that people really need to talk about. And I think in my next discussion, I will be more prepared about this and try to find a better solution how to
yeah.
tackle this.
I think this is just a preview of what can we can do together in collaboration. I think
Yeah,
there's so much to talk about with this topic that is so hard to fit in a 90-minute uh, format.
yeah.
So okay, um, okay. So Hargit, thank you very much for that wonder for sharing. The results of your studies and your practice about the best practices in Lean and BIM. And I wish we could really talk more about that. But for those of you who feel that you want to hear more about that, then just tune in to Beyond Design, and we might be something might come up, right?
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
because Hargit is very passionate about this, and even before the this show, we have been talking about talking about this longer than just one show. So yes, so we can expect more of Hargit in the coming months. So probably after this mini series. So thank you very much, Hargit. It has been really been wonderful. And before we end the show, are there any more last words that you would like to share to our audience who are really into BIM and Lean, or maybe an encouragement for those who are on the fence but have not jumped into it yet? Any words for them?
Yes, definitely. I'm always, I serve as a YICPMA representative. That means I get to be the voice of all the young professionals out there. And I want to just tell you that I was also there where you are standing today. But if I can make it, you can make it too. There's nothing to be afraid of. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Raise your questions. Be doubtful. That's how you learn new things. And don't follow what's just being done. Step up, ask questions, be more aware of the things, what's happening. And definitely Lean and BIM, maybe in the current way it's happening, may not change something, but there is more research being done how to integrate smaller construction projects with this approach. And I am telling you, in my experience, this is something that's going to be very helpful. And to be honest, we need professionals, passionate professionals, to come join us so that we can make some changes beyond this reluctant nature of construction industry. And if you have any questions or you need any help, you know where to find me on LinkedIn. So just give me a call, give me a text, and I will be happy to help anybody who needs help. And also, I want to shout out to all the senior professionals. We really need more people to come and strengthen our team. Right now, we are a wonderful family. I really don't know how many of we are, but in the steering committee, I think we are 5 or 6, or maybe 7, don't know. But definitely, we are looking for people, passionate ones, to join us and share their, experiences and their knowledge with us. So thank you.
We just have a few more comments before we sign off. We have Nick Smith. Thank you very well. Thank you. Very well explained, Hargeet. And Christina, thank you for your insightful 10 points on BIM and lean construction principles. Okay. Thank you very much, Hargeet. And we would like to see more of you in the coming upcoming series of Beyond Design. So thank you very much. So okay, that has been a very insightful session with Hargeet on BIM principles and lean principles in construction industry. Now, this Beyond Design mini series about women in the AEC industry will continue until the last week of August, which is next week, and it will stream here on this same page on the same schedule. That's 8 p.m. Philippine Standard Time and 2 p.m. Central European Time. So thank you once again for tuning in, and we hope to see you once again next week for another episode of Beyond Design, Women in the AEC Industry. Thank you and good night. You are watching Beyond Design, a video podcast that inspires and encourages architects, engineers, and aspiring construction industry professionals to develop their skills and pursue professional careers beyond design. I am Brian Ernest Regalado, an architect by profession practicing as a construction cost management specialist. Join me as I sit down with experts in the construction industry to talk about their professional practice, principles, processes, the lessons they have learned, and how they make an impact.